Welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association and broadcasting from our home at Charleston Radio Group. Thanks to CRG, we're able to talk with the movers and shakers of Charleston, from economy to art, from hospitality to tech, and everything in between. These leaders have made a home here in the Lowcountry. They live here, they work here, they make change here. Why? Let's talk about it.
Hi, and welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association. We're recording here in the Charleston Radio Group studios, big supporters of CAMA. Gotta give a big shout out to Charleston's favorite DJ Jerry Feels Good with the beats at the beginning. Thanks to all of our supporters. What's up, guys? Stephanie here. I am the founder of Stephanie Barrow Consulting, a digital marketing strategy agency here in Charleston, and your CAMA past president. Thanks for joining us. I am joined here by my fellow co-host who just had a birthday, so everybody say belated happy birthday to Mike Compton.
That's right, the big 4'6".
Oh, he's a little tiny bit older than me, so that's good news.
Feeling good about it, though.
No, you look great.
Oh, that's sweet of you to say.
You look great.
Hey, Mike Compton, president of Roombo Advertising, GoRoombo.com, and your incoming president for Charleston American Marketing Association. Thanks for joining us. We're here with a very special guest. I know I say that about every guest.
But he actually is like part of the podcast family in a sense.
But this one, I mean it. You're very special. We have the president and general manager of the Charleston Radio Group. He's also in charge of the Hilton Head radio markets with a total of 10 stations. We're talking about Mr. Paul O'Malley.
Woohoo! Well, thank you very much. You do say everyone's special, but
I do.
I like to think I'm more special. It is our building, so at least we have something.
And you've been part of this, obviously, podcast since the conception. So you're extremely dear and near to our hearts.
Absolutely. Gave us the green light and stalled for a year, too. Yeah. I don't know if you know COVID. That stuff, but it wasn't COVID. It was cancer. Mm-hmm. Remember when Jackson got diagnosed, we had to put the pause on it. So really, lots of love for you with your patience on there, too.
No, I think what you do is great, and people love it, and it's necessary for the community.
Thank you.
Speaking of necessary, though, too, talk about the telethon you guys do for the MUSC, Shawn Jenkins Hospital.
That's...
we're talking about cancer. Might as well bring it up.
It's heartwarming and gut-wrenching. Mm-hmm. Every year we do a 2-day telethon, and people right here like Brian Cleary do an awful lot of behind-the-scenes work, and for 2 days we have 4 stations down in the lobby of the Children's Hospital, Shawn Jenkins.
Pretty awesome.
And
that's awesome.
Ask people if they happen to have a little extra. There's a lot of people who need it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Oh my gosh, what you guys are doing there is amazing.
If you ever need help with any of that, I'd love to volunteer.
And by the way,
we need help.
And by the way, speaking of Jelly Roll tonight, we have one of the kids from Camp Happy Days has one goal. He's had cancer for 22 months. His only goal of the song is to meet Jelly Roll, because the song "Save Me" really sort of kept him going through some tough times. So Jelly Roll's people agreed to specifically go early and meet him today. So we're really excited about that.
That is life-changing.
Camp Happy Days is the best.
It really is.
I think I probably know the kid, too, because I've been to a bunch of Camp Happy Days. We go every time they have an event. We just were at the Happy Walk. The Happy Walk Trot or whatever.
John's Island?
John's Island.
John's Island.
Yeah. Park, James Island, County Park. And it was great.
I went last year to their benefit when they had all the singers downtown. It was awesome.
Yeah, they do a great job. Look it up, listeners. Camp Happy Days. Donate to them. Man, this is such a small city, though, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody's touching everybody, you know.
The city has the biggest heart, but for anybody who knows the city, you also know you could go to a great benefit every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in this town 52 weeks a year. There's great dinners, there's great Oyster Fest. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have big hearts and raise money, but you could make a living just going to them.
100%. I was having that conversation with a nonprofit client yesterday. We're trying to get silent auction items. We're like, this is the wonderful giving city. So we're going to contact these people who give every single time. So it's wonderful. But
Spark
I want to talk
is also looking for.
What are they looking
Spark
for?
Is also looking. You're talking about a different one, but Spark's looking for silent auction items too.
Okay. Shout out to
your point, Paul. So many different events, so many different nonprofits that do great things. How do you keep track of it all? How do you know when to say no? And you said yes to us, surprisingly enough.
You know what? Every year we get with Brian Cleary sitting right here, who does all of our marketing and promotions. And unfortunately, we have to sort of say, hey, this is who we're going to get behind this year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because otherwise, you could say yes 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. There's a lot of great people with big hearts, a lot of people who move from other places, as we all know, that were involved in something and wanted to start something here. And it's all incredible stuff. But, I always tell people, we act like a top 5 market, but we only have the amount of people for market number 75, which is what we are.
So how many radio stations do you have under this umbrella here at this station? Here?
We have 6 here on Clements Ferry, and we have 4 in the Hilton Head, Bluffton, Savannah market.
Yeah. My client, shout out to Red Plumbing, Heating and Air, works with Cush, and Cush is awesome. He does a great job of doing the commercials and making it very geared towards the people. And I love working with you guys.
And we call Cush a very talented management challenge. I'll just leave it at that.
He's got a big personality.
I think we've all worked with that. I think we've all in the biz somehow worked with that. Hey, Paul, where are you from?
Grew up in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
In my town, it was the headquarters for Xerox and Kodak. And your dad either worked for Xerox and Kodak or was a vendor. And my dad was a vendor to Xerox and Kodak.
What kind of vendor?
He worked for a company, for those old enough, called Uniroyal.
Nope.
They had a tire division, and the computers back in the day used to run on timing belts.
Okay.
So all of the Xerox and Kodak computers ran on timing belts. So Kodak did pictures for everybody around the world, and Xerox did computers for everybody around the world.
Interesting.
So you grew up in New York, so what brought you to Charleston? Through
the course of radio, I was running a radio station through my career in Los Angeles in a company.
Oh, where? Where in Los
boy,
Angeles?
this is circa, though. That's
okay.
We lived in Brentwood, and my wife will tell you if we never left the west side, we moved to a town called Calabasas, which nobody knew what it was until the Kardashians started.
You can have wild animals there, just, of course, for your horse lovers. That's the only place in that LA County where you can have wild animals.
How long were you in LA for, Steph?
10 years.
10 years? Oh, I didn't know that. That's a long time.
That's why I always get very excited when
it's
brought up.
You just perked up. You got
woohoo, LA!
We went from the cool hip area in Brentwood, but our house was smaller than the studio, to a bigger house in the suburbs. And my wife never wanted to go to the suburbs. She's not a suburban mom.
Yeah.
Right.
And she, to this day, will tell you, we never would have left Los Angeles if we had stayed in Brentwood. So
what station were you out there?
Star 98.7, KYSR.
Okay.
It's fun.
And that was the beginning of your radio career?
Nope. I worked my way up to get there.
Yeah.
And then when a company called, which ultimately became iHeart, Evergreen Communications, they bought these stations, and they had me put together big personalities. A lot of people here aren't old enough, but the morning show was a guy named Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family.
Okay.
And the afternoon show was a young kid that nobody knew named Ryan Seacrest.
Right.
So, Ryan has just killed it with his career.
Well, how though? I don't Paul has the kind of origin story here.
He was one of the walk-ups for the American Idol, wasn't he?
No. They Sandy Gershaw, the head of Fox, he was one of the people that they asked to audition.
Okay.
And he came into my office one day and said, "Hey, boss, I need to voice track."
What was he doing?
Tape the show.
What was he?
He did Afternoon Drive.
He was okay.
Very popular.
I love the Afternoon Drive in LA. Oh yeah.
And
still
a lot of radio listening because there's nothing else to do.
No.
Except sit in traffic. So
101.
And then he came back 6 months later and said, "Hey, I've got a second audition." Now understand, in Los Angeles, everybody from your aunt to your cousin's brother's college roommate has an audition.
Correct.
And there's nothing ever happens with them.
Right.
He came back and said, "I got this show. It's from London. It's not a karaoke, but it's a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
I'm going to get all the details." And then fast forward, he went from being just an afternoon show for us to
our new Casey Kasem, basically.
One day, Leno, Letterman, Katie Couric, we had all these people calling the station asking if they could talk to him.
That's awesome.
Because American Idol became the biggest TV show in the world for
I was obsessed for a long time. I used to go to all the finales, I get invited because I was in publicity out there, and I'd go, and it was fun. He's a natural. That guy is talented.
His skill level is so high, but he had one great character. He's got a lot of great characteristics, but he knew what he was.
Okay.
He was a great host. That's all he ever wanted to do.
Okay.
And he honed his craft better than anybody has ever done. His mentors were Merv Griffin and Dick Clark, and he never got into singing songs or he never got into trying to be a huge actor.
Yeah.
He just stayed with what he
did
did well.
You did notice that.
And he's very smart. People don't realize, and I'm sure it's confidential, but he's bought into a lot of things too that people don't know he owns. So
he's executive producer of the Kardashians and a lot of other things.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's behind the scenes in a lot of major productions.
That is so interesting. So how long did you work for him or with him?
Shoot, it's probably 6 years out there, and it was really, I would say, one of the neatest things I've ever seen is watching somebody go from somebody who's in your office to a global superstar where you can't leave the house, or you used to just go to a breakfast with somebody and you just can't do that anymore. And I used to tell them, we knew the day everything changed, because the first year of the show, people knew him and recognized him if we were traveling together, and they're like, I know who, I know.
Can't place that face.
Man, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
You get that all the time.
And then but then one day we had a chance to do an event at the Sundance Film Festival, and the short version is he and I had tickets to go to something called Project Greenlight, which again,
I know what Project Greenlight is too.
Oh yeah, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
It was Ben Affleck, Matt Damon's.
Yeah.
And he said, Paul, you want to go with me? Because I was just the GM at the time. I said, sure. And the line had to be 600 people to get into a time. If you've ever been to Sundance, it's just little bars where they do movies. And there's no way anybody could get in. We were 500 yards from the door, and we said, forget it. Let's go somewhere else. And then some lady in a headset over the loudspeaker yelled his name and said, Matt wants you in here. Like, okay. And I looked at him. I said, Ryan, you are no longer just afternoon drive. You are at a different level.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when Matt Damon's saying, hey, somebody in a loudspeaker, go get that guy.
They said, Matt and Ben want you inside.
Ryan Seacrest.
So, yeah, it was just fun
Paul
to see
O'Malley.
that
Actually, he's yelling for Paul is what they wanted.
And he never, it's back when I was in the gym a lot. But he,
because that's why he would want.
But to this day, he never left radio. And he said,
no kidding.
That's what he's good at.
He loves it, and there's nothing better than being inside, 250 cities in their home or in their cars every day for his brand.
I thought he was really good on the Kelly and Ryan show too when he did that for that short stint.
Oh yeah.
But I also learned things like he is a genuinely, amazingly nice person. And then he would come in. He came in one day, I'll never forget, with 300 letters from either old friends or people he didn't know asking, can you just swing by a birthday party? Can you just do this? Can you just do that?
That's so tough.
And now I see how some celebrities, some people or their friends might think, oh, he's not who he used to be. We don't know him anymore. He physically can't get back to those people.
No.
And I remember he was like, I don't even know what to do with this. And I said, I guess this is why people hire people.
It is. It's hard.
You need a
It's hard.
Yes,
I mean, I got about 12 happy
invites?
birthday replies the other day, and I haven't got to say thank you to every one of them. So, thank you.
I think I wish you happy birthday on social media. If not, happy birthday.
I know what he goes through, because when I walk into Viva on Daniel Island, it's hard for me because everybody.
I'm telling you.
Do you live on DI?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Daniel Island.
And the 6 people who actually like me over there, sometimes they hoard me, and it's hard for me to get back to them.
Yeah,
so
I can see that.
But it was just, I'll never forget the experience of just being on the sidelines of watching somebody who went from one of us to
I have a friend
Amazing,
story
right?
like that too. I won't drop her name, but it was interesting to see her go from like singing on a school at Hotel Cafe, the cover is $10 to get in, to she's like literally worldwide famous as Taylor Swift now.
And my daughters who are in their 20s are so frustrated because they don't remember the first couple months of Idol. He would ask me to get the family and people in the radio station to sit up close because they wanted to look full.
Sure.
Right.
So we would just go the lot and hug the first 8 rows, and somehow they're able to make it look like it's sold out.
That's crazy.
But nobody knew the show, so there was nobody there. And now my daughter's like, Dad, I wish we lived there at this age in their 20s instead of when they don't remember anything.
Yeah.
So what, were you an agent of his? Like,
No, I was
agent?
I was just the general manager
just
at the
general
time.
manager of the radio station that he worked at.
I bet you had some cool guests though during those days.
Yes, the format was very cool. It was the first true modern AC in America, which was
What does that mean?
Smash Mouth. It was back with all what I used to call the angry ladies: Sarah McLachlan, Alanis Morissette, the Wreckers,
Courtney Love?
Michelle Branch. Yes,
All those kinds of. Oh, what a cool time to
Sugar
be
Ray.
in that business.
Sure.
Hey, I could get some
Dido,
Sugar Ray
for
in my
people
head.
that remember Dido.
Oh,
yeah.
Sugar Ray,
I was going to say
Sheryl
Dido
Crow.
suck. Oh, what a fun time.
Yep. My daughters don't remember ever meeting or hanging out with, Rob Thomas.
Do you have
people
pictures,
like
I
that.
hope?
Probably not.
Back in the day, there were
We
so
didn't take
many
a lot of
photos.
pictures,
You
right?
didn't have your phone on
Listen,
you.
I'm old
That's
enough
true.
when they came into my office and showed me this thing called that you could get a phone and an email called the BlackBerry.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the coolest thing anyone ever saw.
Yep.
So not a lot of pictures back then.
I remember my BlackBerry. It was year 2000.
Yeah, for sure. Technology, speaking of that, radio and technology have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Absolutely.
And you've seen it all.
We've seen everything from, it'll make me sound too old, but the reality is
it's too late.
We've all been able to adapt over time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you can get radio anywhere now, from our apps to Alexa and Siri, anywhere you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can get us, digitally anywhere. And you can, we have the podcast of our big morning shows and afternoon shows and midday shows that you can listen to later if you miss something.
Yeah.
It's all about access, getting our content and making it accessible to people.
What I love about radio is that it's timeless. Unlike, unfortunately, newspapers and things like that, were kind of being phased out for digital media. Like you're just kind of growing with the times.
Well, I get asked all the time, did SiriusXM, Spotify, has all that really hurt you as far as listening? And the reality is, people forget that Sirius and XM came out together, and it was supposed to be the demise of radio.
Yeah.
Well, what they didn't take into account is people like their local personalities.
100%.
So before they both went bankrupt, they merged. People don't know, like SiriusXM was two companies at one point. But what's between them and Spotify, if you go back in time, what they really did is they replaced what those that knew the MP3 or the Walkman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what people used it for.
Oh, that's a good
So
point.
radio was about 93% of listening. It's about 91 now weekly. Like it's certainly affected to a small level, but at the end of the day, it's only replaced other things people used. And that's why when you walk through a building and you see 16 live bodies and personalities on the air, it's what separates us from Spotify and everybody else.
That's it. It's the
local
human touch
personalities.
and the local. That's why Charleston Radio Group's local, right?
That's why our corporate office is in, Detroit, but you'd never know it because we're the Charleston Radio Group. And when you walk through this building, we don't have a lot of syndication like all the big groups do. You see 16, 17 now live personalities on 6 radio stations.
I mean, I'm even going back to all of a sudden, video killed the radio. That comes into my head when you started talking just now. I'm like, wait, what? Even back then, they thought radio was dead.
And even today, when people say, but is it really that, Paul? And I'll say, here's what I will tell you. I'll leave it confidential. We have had a personality that was having trouble with an eye, where it literally was going to have massive surgery.
Oh, wow.
And imagine one day a lady called in and said, and this was only in the past 6 months, my husband just passed away in a car accident. I've listened to you every day. I told the officials to please save his eyes because I know somebody who might need an eye.
No.
Oh, my gosh.
And he replaced his eye, and to this day, none of us, I guess it's confidentiality, I don't know enough about it, but we don't know if it's that eye or not.
Oh, my gosh.
Imagine that.
No.
That's the kind of
human
sort of connection.
Mm-hmm. That is an incredible story.
Because
I'm speechless.
Because when you look at AI and things,
right,
like there is a feeling we're just getting farther away from each other.
I know. I agree with that.
We just get farther and farther away from eye contact. And, people still are human beings and want to know somebody and feel, when someone makes them feel good or entertains them, they make a connection.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing that here because everybody I see in the building is in a good mood for the most part.
That's just because I sign their paychecks, just so you know.
No, everyone here is awesome.
The culture is great.
No, and coming from someone who works with the Charleston Radio Group for my clients, like you guys are awesome. You're so responsive. You're quick on the ball. You're always putting these really cool packages where you get like all the things, like you get to come to an event or you could have a banner at an event, and like it's been really, really fun.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean,
the creativity is like off the charts at Charleston Radio.
I tend to use humor as a defense mechanism sometimes, but at the end of the day, we push people pretty hard, but we make sure that they know that there's nobody else we'd rather have in the building than them every day.
I love that.
So when did you?
I'm not gonna lie to you. We have some kooky people.
Oh,
but
no,
it's
we
radio.
know. Yeah, we've met them.
Well, we had Nikki on the podcast.
We are not a bank. No disrespect to the banks, but you'll hear stuff in this facility that you shouldn't hear anywhere else. But just because we have some left brain creative crazy people.
Oh yeah, we love Nikki. Nikki was on the podcast. She was one of our first guests. She's a sharp girl.
She's got the third most downloads.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Talented.
Yeah, and I work with Alex a lot. So shout out to Alex because she's awesome. She does all of my work with Red Plumbing, Heating, and Air, and some other clients. I worked with her when I was at Trio Solutions, and we have a great relationship. And she's awesome.
We're really fortunate. We have great people.
Yeah,
that love what they do.
That's amazing.
Oh, when did you move to Charleston?
I moved back.
Yeah, that's right.
We came from Los Angeles because I wanted to get back to the East Coast. So I was here 2003 to 2008 before I was promoted to be the regional president of a company called Citadel Broadcasting. So I was handling...
As in the Citadel?
No, that was the humorous part. It's called Citadel, but it has nothing to do with the Citadel.
Okay.
But we bought another company called ABC Radio. If you know Bob Iger, he sold us their radio station so he could buy a company called Pixar.
Yeah,
which turned out pretty good for them.
I'm very familiar with Bob
gosh.
Iger.
Yeah.
In my head, I was thinking of someone different, so I apologize.
Yeah, no. We'll fact check it.
No, it's fine.
I only got to know him because he's also an Ithaca College graduate.
Oh,
so.
Okay.
But so anyway, from 2003 to 2008, I was here, transferred to run the Atlanta and Dallas markets, and then came back in 2018, January 1st, when this really great radio company bought the last of the big private companies. A guy named Dean Pierce owned all these radio stations.
Okay.
So, and they said, hey, would you ever go back to Charleston? And I said, let me think. Yes. No disrespect to Atlanta. It's just gotten very crowded.
Oh, I'm sure. Sure.
How long have you been here?
January 1st, 2017.
Okay.
The first day here, instead of coming to the station, I had to sit in the Market Street Pavilion Hotel for 3 days because it was a record ice storm.
I was getting ready to say, I remember that storm. Was right around 3.
Could not come in to meet people for 3 days.
But welcome to Charleston.
Yeah. They're like, I just left the snow in Atlanta.
And we like to claim we're not as much of a, because everyone gets mad at all the new people because of all the traffic. This is our second stint, so I'm hoping we qualify now as not somebody new after 7 years here and our second stint here. Because
how long were you here before then?
2003 to 2008.
So 2003 to 2008, and then
right at the recession.
I think right around 10 years, you can almost say that you've planted yours. You've had children here, whatever. I'm staying.
See, we look at it differently. When everyone gets frustrated at the traffic on the Don Holt, or with all due respect, I look around and I say, look at all those people listening to radio.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
100%.
Keep it up. And some will say, well, I listen to Spotify. I'm sure you listen to other things, but there's a lot of people listening to radio.
And what I love, once again, about working with you guys is that you have the analytics to back. Like you can say, okay, during this time, take it back to your Google Analytics. You can see people are sitting in traffic, and this is when your commercial aired. It's a direct correlation, which is wonderful for ROI for if you're a small business and you're looking to get your branding out there. Like I love that you have the science, the technology to back up the commercials.
From a business standpoint, one of the biggest changes is radio did have to come up with and developed through the years an attribution system because back in the day everybody bought radio, TV, and outdoors.
Right.
And the joke was, I know that half of my marketing is working, I just don't know which half.
Exactly.
Right.
So over time, as the digital, and we all had to become very savvy at, digital targeting and, the customer journey.
Yeah.
We had to find ways to say, hey, I know my ad's working because I'm getting more people, but how well is it? And now we can show attribution for them because at the end of the day, everybody kind of does the same thing now. No matter what media you're looking at, when you hear something that inspires you, you're going to go search for something.
Yeah.
Right.
You go to someone's website.
Mm-hmm.
So
what other ways did you have to adapt your strategies to meet the digital times of now?
Great question, Steph.
We had to adapt to the point where for years, our business was based on this one-to-many, inspiring ads that got people to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now what they're doing, everyone is searching.
Yes.
So the question we ask every one of our sales team will ask somebody is very simply to any prospective client, what kind of people do you want to do what kind of action? Because that's all anyone does. Do you want more people in to buy shoes, or do you want to sell your shirts? So this massive on-air campaigns people do, we know goes right to search. So they're going to search. If we read an ad for Mike, they'd go to Go Rumba.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go to Go Rumba, we better be able to make sure he's on the first page of Google.
Oh, yeah.
Because no one goes to the second page.
Right.
You might, if you have a lot of time, but nobody does.
No one does.
And then if they don't buy something from Mike right away and they go to his website and leave, we need to retarget them and circle them up and invite them back.
Right.
So radio has had to adapt to do the whole customer journey now instead of just when people hear an ad, sending them to someone's website.
GoRoombo.com. If you want to go to GoRoombo.com, I mean, that
and
works
buy
too.
something.
I know you guys partner with a lot of like local venues and stuff like that. What's your take on like geofencing around when people show up to these events that you guys are a part of? Do you do any bit of that?
Absolutely. It's a very valuable tool. It's funny. When I was first trying to explain that to somebody years ago, I said, it's very simple. I won't tell you which ones because they're all friends, but I went into a dealership looking at a car on a Saturday with my wife, and then when we left the dealership, all she said is, find the Georgia score, because she's a diehard Bulldog. Don't bring it up. It gets very tricky in our house. But as soon as I went on to ESPN, I had an ad from their direct competitor across the street.
Yep.
And I said, in case you want to know what geofencing is, go online and look up a mortgage. Say, what kind of mortgage could I get? Every mortgage company within 20
almost
miles
like
of the
subliminal
city.
messages. I'll leave Lowe's. I'll be like thinking about, why did I buy those flowers? And then I'm like, now I'm served an ad.
It's, all those tactics are important. And I think people are finally, it used to seem intrinsic and too intruding.
Right.
Like, oh
when
my
it was
God,
new.
how did they know I went in to see Burger King? How did McDonald's knew to send me an ad for fries, right? But now it's almost to a point where I think people are okay with it.
Right.
And we all know how scary it is. Cybersecurity is one of the biggest issues I have every day with our people. We have a lot of training. But,
unless you're shopping for Santa presents like I do way in advance, and all of a sudden your children are being fed the ads. And they're like, oh, look, Mom.
Really?
We just talked about this.
And I think the one thing that surprises me is that when people don't understand how much Apple and those companies listen.
That's we have a, what's it called, Siri in every room. Like the kids have their own one, and they'll be like talking, like watching this YouTuber Mariah Elizabeth, and the next thing I know, Mariah Elizabeth's ads are hitting me. And then my kid's like, Mom, did you see this ad? And I'm like, oh, kill me.
And it's just, and people think you have to be logged on to something. The other day, my daughters used to watch a show called Pretty Little Liars.
Oh, I know Pretty Little Liars. Yeah.
I'm not in that demo. There's no way they'd ever target me or my URL. I am a way deep into the 50s plus male. There's nothing I have in common. I'd never get served something.
Right.
The next day, we were joking about how they used to watch the show. Nobody was on Alexa. Nobody had their phones on Siri. It was just the phone. And the next day, I was served an ad for where to find Pretty Little Liars on cable, on DirecTV.
It's wild.
They knew I had DirecTV, and they knew I was talking about Pretty Little Liars. And, I joke with my girls. I say, do you know why China doesn't allow their kids to be on Facebook and Instagram? Because they know it's a bad idea.
Right.
And it's amazing how many people in our country don't know you can't get it in China. There's no Facebook.
I didn't know that. No, I did not know that.
Can't get it there.
Because, listen, I don't want to get political, but somebody over there said, I don't think it's a good idea for young kids to have this much access to all these other things that can create things in their head that aren't true. So
right.
I don't think any American actually social media is allowed in China, but I know Facebook and Instagram are not.
So interesting.
I like that. My kids are not having that till they're teenagers, that's for sure.
And you heard all the rules that are coming out now, though. Zuckerberg and his team are having like a parental kind of control over your kid, and you have to have your parents go through it now.
Well, I like that the CCSD school system took phones away. That's just my take.
Yeah,
it's probably like for emergencies or whatever, you would want to get in touch with your kid, but I think it's helpful.
There's a Netflix show that should be mandatory for every parent.
Okay.
I believe it's called Social Dilemma.
Yes, I've seen it. Matthew and I watched it together.
All you have to know about that is the people who invented some of those apps have never let their children have one.
Yeah.
They left
the
folks from Facebook, Instagram, and one other that were on the development team have never allowed their own kids to be on it. Because a lot of people got into that for a much more pure reason than what a lot of it has become now.
Yes.
Right.
And when they saw where it was going and saw how they were keeping people's data and doing things they shouldn't, they said no, and their kids aren't even allowed. Anyway, I think it's a good education for people. We're not going to stop. There's some wonderful things about, today's social media. When I was growing up, I would, I never had the ability to talk to my mom or dad, like instantly.
Yeah, unless you had a quarter.
It's nice to be able to, like,
a payphone.
They probably don't like it, but to be able to communicate with daughters, or if they're going through something, in a minute they can get us, right? We had to walk down to a payphone, or do a cell phone that was the size of that, lunchbox over there, and so there are some things that help, but but it is it's a challenge. All our personalities have social media, and it's a way of connecting. Just not to be political. It's hard to control.
So and all of your radio stations have their own Instagram and Facebook pages, that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Who handles all that? Do you have a team, or you leave it up to your...
that is a team effort.
It's the same people you see here, but like any place, we have a lot of people that do double duty.
Right.
So, but we have some people that just really enjoy it and have a knack for it. And, like this afternoon, Hunter and Kush, our afternoon show is going to be broadcasting from Top Golf, giving away a final pair of tickets if you want to go to see Jelly Roll.
There's your chance.
So, has all been socialed out for the last 2
days.
Hey,
Kush, remember me? No, it's like...
Yeah.
The one I'm trying to get to is Post Malone, but I missed that. I missed the bucket on that one.
Brian's got 4 in his pocket. Brian, give us the 4 tickets.
Hang on to your tickets.
But that is another thing that's a great way that we connect with audiences is through these concerts.
Sure.
Thank goodness that Charleston, between, Bob Moran and Ben Navarro and Chris Meany and great folks at Credit One.
Mm-hmm. Credit One has stepped up the music game for Charleston over the last 5 years.
And the great folks, Chris Bird and his team and new bosses over there at Coliseum have, they've got big shows from Jelly Roll and Blake Shelton next year. Like, this city has really been able to pony up. I mean, the shows we get are as big as the top 10 markets get.
And this is new for the market, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably within the last 5 years, right? Because I've been here for 10.
Yeah, since Credit One did their huge renovation, they've been very aggressive getting more artists than any venue. I don't think high-level artists of any other venue.
Yeah, I think someone I want to see like next March is going on sale today. So I had myself a reminder.
I think Blake Shelton's going on sale.
Oh, Blake Shelton.
Man.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought it was
be a great show.
Yeah, he's awesome live. You need to get like a Pink or someone. I want someone like a rock and roll chick.
All right, well,
girl.
shout it out there.
Brian,
let the universe.
Call
Yeah,
Pink,
exactly.
Brian.
Hey,
Well, Pink's probably listening to the podcast, so
I know she absolutely.
Pink, if you're listening.
Start a rumor that Bob Moran's getting Pink at Credit One and see what happens.
Oh,
Besides the fact
did you see that on social media? There's different. They said like Stevie Nicks or someone was coming here, and they put up all these fake posts and like fake Facebook groups, and like she was not coming here.
Well,
Scammers.
So what part of and you might not have the answer to this, but AI has been obviously a buzzword. Sure. Well, how are you guys using it?
So we use it in the most important way we've used it is specifically in copywriting. Okay? We are not. I like our live bodies. I like looking at Brian Cleary. No AI is better than him on the air. We are the bigger companies that are more debt laden are going to have to use AI for on-air shifts and things. We are not doing that. But I will tell you what we do it for is, if you came to me with Mike's Brewing, a new IPA brewing company, when there's a lot of competitors, and said, hey, I need some thoughts on a commercial, we have pretty good copywriters, but there's some great AI, sort of chat GPT on steroids. There's some great AI programs that give us tremendous copy, tremendous creativity,
It's
all
great.
because think about it. It can aggregate the entire universe on the internet in milliseconds and spit out to you basically the best practice of anybody in your business and what they've used. So really copywriting is what we're using it for. Yeah. We're looking at it some in production and things like that. But the biggest thing some radio companies are using it for is to replace on-air talent, and we're not going that route.
No, then you lose your human touch. When you were talking right now, I just remembered back in the day when we had to do research and write different things, the periodical table.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then you have to go in and
the big wall.
Actual read stuff with pens and papers and notes.
I know.
And literally you just said it like...
ChatGPT is like the digital Cliff Notes for me.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. It's a it starts the brainstorming session for us too,
does.
and
somewhat fact checking.
You have to fact check everything. Like through Buzzsprout, which is what we use. We use their AI, and most of it's written by
except they tend to get the names spelled.
They get you have to go in again. You have to edit it. You have to.
But otherwise, they do a really good job of translating what the conversation was about, which is wonderful. Versus
chapters it out.
Yep, that's nice.
Thing.
And I'll tell you what's on, as far as our industry goes, where it's getting a little tricky is, for example, the FCC and the government are knee deep in coming up with an official policy. I haven't read that one's come out, but it might have. The political commercials, you can use your opponent's voice.
Sure.
That's right.
And create a spot as if to say, do you notice that Stephanie is against men being able to wear T-shirts indoors?
Oh, yeah.
And they can take your voice and say, I don't think men should wear T-shirts indoors. Yeah. You never said that, but you said the word T-shirt indoors at some point in your life that they can aggregate and make it sound like you said something that you didn't.
Right. Didn't Trump do something like that with Taylor Swift?
Well, he posted something about, like he made an AI version of her likelihood or her image, How about, did you guys hear the story about the guy who just made a ton of money using AI to replicate songs, but the AI would do it its own way and make it a different song, and then he streamed it. Like he just had his own.
That's when it gets a little tricky to me. I'm just such a big supporter of like musicians and artists and stuff. I'm like, come on.
Definitely using it for evil, right? That's what that is. But he ended up making a bunch of money for a few years.
Yeah.
And finally, you're gonna get busted. Anytime you do something bad, you're gonna get busted.
No, to your point, all the BMI, CSAC, all the big companies to protect the writers and songwriters are all, I'm sure, in big think tanks making sure these writers and all that it's their voice, that they get paid, things like that, because people can pirate. I mean, artificial intelligence is exactly what it says.
Artificial.
Now, under the Charleston Radio Group umbrella, do you guys do like songwriting, like jingles and that kind of thing?
Not necessarily. We do commercial jingles.
Yes.
And have the ability to do so. We have a third party that does great ones.
That's nice.
Because it has to be original music and things.
Yep.
Right.
People will have clients ask, hey, can you use the theme to Cheers for my son? No.
You're like, no.
See, those are copyrighted. And every time, people don't realize that every time a song plays, somebody gets paid.
Right.
Around the world.
Yes.
So if it's on a radio station, in essence, a inaudible tone clicks off a satellite, and whoever wrote it and sang it and anybody else in the team, a little penny chips off. And
That's why I always think it's so interesting when someone like, say, Justin Bieber recently sold his catalog of songs to someone for like $2 billion.
Yep.
But I'm like, these songs have already been made. He's been making money off of them. But I guess for now and forever,
correct,
the new person will make money off of it.
That's exactly it.
That's cool.
Yep.
I mean,
how does that?
There's a documentary on right now, actually, on Taylor Swift and Scooter Braun and everything that went down there.
Scooter Braun and I are not friends.
Who's Scooter Braun?
I am T Swift all day long.
Yeah. Who's this gentleman? I'm assuming.
You don't know who Scooter Braun is? I'm just gonna look down on the ground. So he used to manage.
Scott Borchetta.
Oh, okay.
Scott Borchetta of Big Machine.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is a label out of Nashville. And then Scooter Braun was like a manager type guy.
Oh, I see.
And he supposedly bought the rights to all of Taylor's songs without her permission. There's a lot of theories.
Is that why there's Taylor's version?
Yes, that is exactly why there's Taylor.
Yeah, the Netflix special. And I will not judge because I happen to know both people.
Yeah.
Oh.
They actually give you both sides.
I haven't watched it yet.
Huh.
I'll say it's pretty interesting, but at the end of the day, it's one of those rare things. Taylor is so big and so transformative, and so in today's world, no one knew what it was like to grow up with the Beatles, but I guess this is probably as close.
This is their
that's a good point.
As close as we would know. We're literally,
Did you say you met her?
Yeah, she was, when I was over the country stations in Atlanta and Dallas, she did a lot for us.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been any nicer. Mom was always
nice.
amazing. Dad was amazing. I mean, she was mentored and raised. I always used to tell people, I think that Taylor Swift never will get the credit for being so wildly successful as a teenager and not coming off the rails. Like, I grew up where all the rock stars used to have, there was that show MTV Behind the Scenes, where every rock star came off the rails in their life, personally.
Right.
Too much money, too much.
She's
all of it.
Made good choices, except bad boyfriends. That's the worst thing you can say about her.
She did two amazing things. She never came off the rails.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. She probably had $100 million at 19.
Yeah.
If I had $40 at 19, I was a train wreck.
Right.
Okay. And then the other thing, I don't think.
That's so true.
The other thing that she did that no one's has ever done is, people forget, she brought fathers and daughters together. When you are a dad and you could be divorced, you could have done something wrong. If you get tickets for your daughter to Taylor Swift all through the years, the look a daughter would give you and the love, at least for one night, was, I mean, she brought fathers and daughters together.
No kidding.
I didn't get to go to the Eras Tour, unfortunately, but I did go to the Eras Tour movie, and with me and my 2 daughters and my husband, and you're looking across that room, and all the parents were on theme and dancing and crying and holding on to their kids. Like it's like been a massive transformation from like little children to like tween era, and then continuing on. Like people in their 60s and 70s love Taylor Swift. It's wild.
Yeah.
She's so impressive.
So you took in your daughters to a Swift show before?
Sure, absolutely. Taylor was so good and so smart that my daughters to this day still have handwritten thank you notes from her when she was starting out, that whenever she would meet a GM, now, if you asked her who Paul O'Malley is today, doubt she's going to know.
Oh, sure.
But when I was over the big stations, the artists would get to know you because we were playing their records.
Yeah.
And years ago, I introduced her to my 2 daughters, and 2 weeks later, with her own private seal, was a handwritten note.
Oh, my gosh.
And a couple months ago, I said, girls, you better find those because they might be worth money someday if things ever get really bad in radio. I would pull those out.
Yeah.
But that's how somebody was always with her, reminding her who she met at the meet and greets or backstage.
Yeah.
And they'd always get a handwritten note.
That's a lot.
I knew her during the Red album, and before she went to New York and changed her sound, and she's awesome.
And the other thing, the reason country is always indebted to her, even though there's some old line folks that say she's too pop now and all that, what they owe her is a big thank you, because what she did do is when she came out, it's the first time young girls ever flipped on a country radio station.
That's a good point.
They went looking for her, and what happened was a lot of other people should thank her. They might not like me saying this, but when they were looking for Taylor on the whatever the station dial position was, all of a sudden they heard this other song by Luke Bryan or Jason Aldean or the Zach Brown Band, and it was like, I like that song too. I like that song. It brought people into the format that maybe never have
You're right.
been in that format before.
You're right.
Yeah.
And now when you go to a concert, go see what it looks like tonight at Jelly
I just
Roll.
went to Dirk's Bentley.
Oh yeah.
You'll see
wasn't
as many 25 and under females that never happened in the 80s and early
Oh my
90s.
gosh, that's all there was at Dirk's Bentley.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sea of 25-year-olds.
Well, a lot of them are like on the edge of being either poppy or like a Sam Hunt, or being more like a rock and roll, like an Eric Church.
Well-
and so it's cool that all these like different genres are kind of meshing together now for radio. I love it.
like a Post Malone and country now.
Oh,
right? Like
Malone.
it's great. You spoke, and then so you took your daughters to the Swift concert. You said you want to be an author, Paul. You have a book idea.
I've just made notes through the years, and one day I thought, I grew up in a household, we're Irish Catholic, right? We had 4 kids, 5 years apart, and somewhere there were probably 3 miscarriages in there. So, well, I grew up in an era when the priest used to tell the mom and dad, like, you have to have 4.
You have to.
If you have
You have 4
Four was the
daughters?
number.
No. I'm
You grew
sorry.
up in the house.
I
Okay.
grew up. I have 2 older brothers, older sister. But when
Right.
I was growing up, my mom used to say the priest would sort of scowl at you until the 4th child came, because I'm not trying to be political, but back then the theory was we have to outnumber the Protestants. Like the Catholics need more people.
So that was
Like we need an army. You got to have 4.
obviously.
So,
Taking over the world.
but when you're with, we all played sports. My sister did, and then I fall in love, and I'm dealt 2 beautiful daughters that don't play football. They've got into sports and things, but over time, I just made notes about things that I never thought I'd be involved in, or never have to say. Or
like what? Give us one.
well, the working title of my
Yes.
book is going to be "The Day I Learned More About Sephora Than Football,"
There you go.
because I used to tell people I can tell you what aisle has foundation with sunblock in it, but I forget who won the Super Bowl last year.
That's funny.
And then one day when my daughter said, "Dad, I think you need to go out with the guys today," when they were like 14, I realized, you're right. One of my girls was running off to lacrosse in Atlanta, and I said, "Hey, do you have the foundation with sunblock in it, or just the normal one because it's sunny out?" And my other daughter said, "Dad, first of all, that's creepy. And second of all, you need to go out with the guys today." No dad says
At least
things
they
like
were
that.
looking out.
Yep.
That just shows you're a really involved dad, though. That's
Yep.
I'll give my wife credit. One day she said, this is when they were like 8 or 9, she said, this is the point where you're either going to be involved or the dad on the outside.
Yeah.
So when they want to go to the mall and Notre Dame's playing and they invite you, you can either
make the right
watch
choice,
Notre
Paul.
Dame. And I said, well, of course we're watching Notre Dame. She goes, well, you'll be they'll love you, but you'll be on the outside.
That's good. And they liked you all the years?
No, they never do. They're wonderful, sweet. I also think girls are, one of my chapters will be, they're not, they've changed. Like, there's a point where they just look at you with eyes that you can't do any wrong, and then you come home on a Wednesday, and everyone's mad. And it's like, whoa.
You don't know why.
Whoa. Right? Nope. What happened today? And you just got to leave them alone.
Give them space.
I won't be ready for that ever.
No, I've got a soft spot in my heart for girl dads because I got 2 boys, and I had to ask you what Sephora was.
Your boys are super sweet.
Oh, yeah, but I don't have to deal with Sephora yet.
They will buy stuff for their teenage girlfriends, and it will be Sephora and Bed Bath & Beyond candles.
My nieces do that.
I made a bet with a guy in a bar one time. He had 6 daughters, and I think we walked by, and I said, wow, I thought I had it bad. And long story short, we got talking. We made a bet. I told him I shop for 2 things this week, that if he told me exactly what both of them were, he's a true girl dad.
Okay.
This is great.
And the 2 things were, 1, no lie, I shop for taffeta because my daughter wanted it in her University of Kentucky window, whatever. Taffeta.
Yeah.
And the other one, a peplum.
What's a peplum?
It's a top that's like this, and it
And
goes
he knew
down.
that?
It's like a shirt dress, but it's
for the listeners.
Yeah,
I'm mimicking it out.
And he said he knew what taffeta was, and his wife's like, "Our daughters have peplums." He's like, "I don't know what a peplum is."
Yeah.
Yep. Taffeta and a peplum. That's how you know you've reached a new low.
Yes.
Or high, whatever.
Or new high.
Yeah.
Or you're way too close.
Last night, my husband and I were sitting around with our daughter playing Roblox, which is a thing for 9-year-olds and on your phones.
Is it for 9-year-olds though?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Jackson wants it.
It's
I'm
very,
not letting him.
It's like
he's on
the
Minecraft.
cheesiest thing ever. So
Okay.
we were playing Dress to Impress last night, where we had mannequins and we had to go put on pretty gowns and look like royalty. And so Matthew and I, you get like 2 seconds and you like go and you get dressed, and then
That's cute.
It's cute. You got to do whatever it takes just to stay relevant with your kids, because one day you're not going to matter. So I'm down to play Dress to Impress.
In Roblox? Like, what happened to Roblox?
So Roblox is like a platform where it has hundreds of games, maybe more than that, thousands of games.
Oh, so it was like a dress-up
This
game?
is a girl game. This happens to be a girl game. So my point was that like my husband's playing Dress to Impress game.
Sure.
But yeah, they have boy games too. They have dragon games and all the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing about young girls is they're smart, and it's annoying. I was on this window of time where I told the girls, especially during the recession, okay, times are a little changing. We have needs and wants in our homes from this day forward. Mm-hmm. What we need, we get. What we want, we're going to talk about. And I swear, they have a great ability to make a need and a want be the same. It's like you don't need the Kylie Jenner eyelash brush. You want the Kylie Jenner eyelash brush. You need an eyelash brush for $1.80 at CVS.
Yeah, sure.
You don't need the $26 same brush, but it's got her name on it.
Right.
Like that stuff would make me nuts. Because at the end, I thought, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, they can get you thinking weird things. But
the ladies in general for me.
But you're talking about social media and things. We don't do. I don't know what Roblox is. I'm sure my daughters do, but we do like Wordle.
Oh, I like
things
Wordle.
Like that. And even though it sounds silly, you can share. Like it keeps us connected all the time.
I love
like
that.
Once a day, we're connected because we're also maniacally competitive. We do Wordle. I send what I send out to the girls. They'll send theirs back and who won today. But I would say this.
Whoever
social media
first.
has been detrimental in many, many ways, but it also, on the good side, finds a way to connect people like parents and kids where you'd never be connected before.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Without having to call them up and say, how's your day?
Right.
Because you already know. Because they're posting about
and don't ever ask a daughter how her day is. Just come up with another way to say it, because that's just the answer you'll get you're not going to like.
Now, is the Charleston Radio Group using like TikToks and Reels and all the short form videos and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have some that are more savvy than others, but absolutely. Just different ways to connect with the audience. They hear somebody on air, and now there's other ways to connect with them and connect with our clients.
Right. So mentioning your clients, a lot of people don't know how to like actually work with radio stations. So how do small businesses or nonprofits or whatever like even start working with like the Charleston Radio Group?
It's another great question.
Well,
that's two right there.
The beautiful part is that's why we have so many, so much staff, because nobody goes to a generic website and tries to, buy commercials. Other companies have that, and that's what because they don't have people. We make it very easy and just talk to people about what do you want to message and what do you want people to do? Like, start there.
Right.
And then they have plenty of options on which stations target which audience, whether they want to be in morning drive or afternoon drive. Right. That stuff all is easy, but it's really about what do you want people to do? You know, in today's world, people call, click, visit, or search. Right. Yep. So an HVAC company probably wants somebody to call them or click on their website because they don't
100%.
have their brick and mortar store people don't walk into.
Right.
An auto dealer wants people to visit, you know, click on their website, but also they want to they want people on the lot. So the easiest way to do it is just call anybody or call the front desk and somebody will talk to you about what do you want to message and to who. And there's very simple ways to do it. People in media tend to make it very complex. They talk about their products too much. We got this, we have that, we have this, we have that. Mm-hmm. I have a little button on my phone. If I'm ever with a seller and they use the word I count them.
Okay.
And when they come back, I'll say, if you ever say I more than you say you to a client, you're doing something wrong.
What do you mean? Talk about it.
It should be about you. What do you want to do? What do your people want to do? What does your consumer want to do? Okay? When people say, well, I can do this, or we can do that, or we've got great this, we have great that, we're number one in this, we're number one in that, that's not going to help anybody. That all is just a byproduct of what do you want to do? What do you want the customer to do? Mm-hmm. And it's got to be about what you're doing. It's not what we know what we do. Right. We know we have big stations. We know we have wacky personalities. We know we have big audiences. We know we throw on big parties and great concerts.
Yep.
We need to talk about them. And too many people talk about themselves, and it doesn't work.
Well, you're such a good manager. You attract cool people, though.
That's
I'm
just
rare.
older.
I'm just older.
Well, we're lucky to have a Paul in the market.
You know what? I think anybody, you know, my daughters are going to cringe, but I was one of the weird people that my mom used to say, the weird thing about my youngest son is he was born happy.
Right.
Like, I never slept a lot, not because I have anxiety. I just always wanted to see the world. And I used to tell my kids, there's only two kinds of days, good days and better days.
Yeah.
There's only two kinds of days.
Right.
My mom used to say,
I'm writing that down.
Well, my mom used to say, you want to have a bad day? Come with me. I'll take you down to the children's hospital. Oh. We'll show you a parent that's been sitting there for 3 days when they can't figure out why their child can't speak and 10, 20 surgeries. Like, that's a bad day.
Don't take me down that road.
There's only two kinds of days, good days and better days. In fact, my daughter for my birthday a few years ago got me collar stays that said good days and better days.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's cool.
That's a mantra.
It's just, for some reason, you know, being positive is a choice. And when people come in and, you know, a manager came in and they were really upset about something and they were frustrated that they had to make a decision. And I said, what, do you think you were going to come in today and not have to do anything?
Yeah.
You know, when people get really frustrated, I remind them what my father used to say. How much would they pay matadors if bulls had no horns? Not much.
Not much.
That's an easy job. Like, you can get one of those. It doesn't pay a lot.
Right.
That's so random.
They get horns. They can get stuck by a horn. That's why you got to pay them.
Right.
So when people come in, especially managers, the reason we pay you
no risk, no reward.
is these matadors have horns around here. I mean, these bulls have horns.
Right.
So true.
It's just like, in today's world, even in I've told people, we have way too many managers and not enough leaders. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody likes to manage.
Yeah. Sure.
Telling somebody you have to be here at this time, that time. You did it the wrong way. You did it this way. You know, if you ever watch Ted Lasso, I think he and I would have been friends.
I was going to say.
when in one of the shows when they said, Ted, that's impossible. And he said, you know what I heard? I heard I'm possible. Yeah. And I thought it was a great line. I was like, now that's how you're supposed to think.
It is.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets hard, but, you know, we do that behind closed doors and we go home and, you know, kick over the chair or something. But when you're trying to lead people, they have to feel like it's a good, safe place. These people want me here, and I know that they have my back. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, it shows, Paul. I mean, we're excited to be here every Thursday with y'all, and it's the acceptance part of it's been amazing. Except Brian, of course. He's terrible,
I absolutely adore Brian.
Brian's over there sitting there thinking, you should
sweetest.
See when Paul gets upset at somebody, though. It's
I
not
can't
that fun.
imagine
Behind
you upset
closed
at
doors,
anyone.
I'm sure. Yeah,
You
you're allowed.
radiate goodness. I can't imagine you upset at anyone.
Well, we got to get you out of here. You got a radio station to run. Steph, do you have any last minute?
I just want to thank you so much for being such a big supporter of our podcast for the last 2 years. Like, we could not be here without you. We love you guys. I love coming in here every other week, and everyone is so sweet and warm. And just thank you so much, sincerely. Like,
the opportunities.
Well, huge opportunity for us.
I will tell you what we're really grateful for. What y'all are doing is, I don't have to tell you, everybody you know and every cousin you know has a podcast or is trying to do a podcast, and that's great. But what you all do keeps a level of professionalism that, Charleston sometimes is still trying to catch up to, some of the professionalism in business and in technology, and it's growing fast, and there's amazing people here. But your podcast is just always high content, and someone said content is king 30 years ago, and they're right about it. So we appreciate you just advancing everything forward in this town.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, there's so many great people to meet too in this town, Charleston's so awesome.
Yeah, you want to meet Jelly Roll? You can go with us tonight. You have another commitment apparently.
Oh, my.
That's okay.
I was like, well, I am going to the Best of Mount Pleasant party.
Oh, that's right.
I can leave that early. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Paul. Definitely. Steph, you want to close us out?
Before we leave, we, of course, need to thank our sponsors, the Charleston Radio Group.
Am I supposed to say this for my own company?
Yes.
The thoughts and views of Paul O'Malley are not necessarily the thoughts and views of Saga Communication or any of its affiliates.
What a president right there.
Just in case someone disagrees with me.
There you go. Jerry Feels Good, and of course the American Marketing Association. Thank you for being our sponsors. If you want to be a sponsor or a guest on our show, please reach out to us at podcast@charlestonama.org, and we will get back to you. And don't forget to sign up to come to the Spark Awards in November. So that's
Spark Awards. Yeah, Paul, you'll be there.
Absolutely.
We'll let you know. We'll get you a couple tickets.
Great event.
I'm excited. All right. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Bye, Charleston.
We'll see you next time, Charleston.